Hello, everyone. Thank you for participating in our SEWP VI How to Win webinar. This webinar is being held by GDI Consulting, and my name is Ab Band. And we have a lot to cover, so I will be going a little bit too fast, perhaps. For that, I recommend that you download the slide presentation so that you can always refer to it, but you can always also, at the end, we'll go over some of the questions that you pose. So feel free to type in your questions. So some administrative notes: this webinar is being recorded, and the link to the recording will be sent to you within 24 hours. So please whitelist our emails so that you can receive the recording. We will have a Q&A, as I said, at the end. So please type in all the questions you have, and I will go through them at the end. And if we run out of time, I will reach out to you and answer your questions through email. And as I mentioned, please try to download the presentation slide through the File tab on the right-hand side panel of your window, so you can refer to it afterwards. So the agenda for this webinar, I will go through very briefly introducing GDI Consulting and what services we provide. Then, for those of you who are familiar with SEWP VI and the requirements, very briefly, I will tell you what's new in this full RFP. So if you want to take off, you can end the session there. But then we will go into a full discussion of the SEWP program as a whole, and then SEWP VI I will explain, and then dive into the proposal requirements. That's perhaps the main part of the webinar. Then I will discuss the selection system. I will give some strategy notes, how to win, and then we'll reach the Q&A. And please type in your questions as we go along. I might be able to stop at some time during the webinar, answer some questions, and then continue on. Otherwise, towards the end, I will answer all the questions. So very briefly about GDI Consulting, how we can help you. We've had a decade of solid performance. We provide full proposal development and capture for our clients. We've had 153 wins in 2023 with over $17.4 billion of contracts for our clients with an average win rate of 81%. Specifically towards SEWP, the SEWP program, on SEWP V, we had 6 wins. We helped 6 clients, 4 small businesses and 2 large ones win on this opportunity. Due to the time constraints, I will not go into details of any of these. Now, in terms of the services we provide specifically towards SEWP VI, we provide free consultation, and you will see that I've put in our contact info, so you can actually contact us to set up that free consultation session. We provide eligibility and qualification assessment for those of you who are not sure if you're eligible or not. And then for those of you who want to go after this opportunity, full proposal development, we put a dedicated team of proposal manager, writer, technical compliance manager, and reviewer, plus the usual, desktop publishing and graphic artists. So, and we provide full and multiple reviews for the different volumes. And for those who are preparing their proposals in-house, we provide review services, gate reviews for the proposal, as well as strategy consultation. Overall, our company provides proposal development, capture management, support services, and training for various company clients that we have. Under proposal development, we have eligibility and score assessment, including self-scoring proposals or score sheet proposals, as some people call them, full proposal development, gate reviews, and staff augmentation. For capture management, we provide dedicated capture management as well as sourcing and qualification. Our support services division is more geared towards larger businesses. We provide competitive intel, black hat exercises, and price to win. And then finally, our training division provides proposal development and capture management training. Lastly, myself, I've had over 30 years of proposal writing and capture management. I'm an expert also on self-scoring proposals, although this SEWP VI is not self-scoring. My own expertise is in defense, IT, and health sectors. I've managed over 1,000 proposals successfully, 22 of them being over $1 billion. And I've been contributing to Washington Technology. I've held webinars for APMP and Apex, previously PTAC, offices throughout the US. Now, this is the contact info for myself and my colleague, Maron Freedy. So if you need a free consultation or any of our services, please contact us and we'll be glad to jump on a call and discuss your needs. Having said that, let's first, for those of you who are familiar with SEWP VI and want to know exactly what's the difference in the full RFP here, very briefly, the highlights of what's new in the full RFP. So it's now a full 10-year base contract with the awarded contracts for each company not to exceed $20 billion. They've changed some of the technical areas under category A and have expanded it. And I'm sorry, for those of you who are not familiar, I'm going to go over all of this in full details. This is just for those of you who are anxious to know what's the difference. CMMI level 2 or higher is now only mandatory for category B and not C as it was originally in the draft RFP. They have completely overhauled the number of CLINs for category A. They've reduced it considerably. For the specific, the special socioeconomic companies in category B, the value of the reps under mandatory experience has now been reduced to 4 million instead of 5 million. And then they have also expanded these companies, the type of these companies. So now both VOSP and SDVOSP, as well as WOSP and EDWOSPs can participate. The page count limit for volume 3 has been reduced, and overall the technical approach and management approach each have a page limit of 15. And now you can bid as prime as well as in one team arrangement, so, and no more. So originally it was not like this, but now you can say bid as a prime and then participate in a teaming agreement with another company and bid there as well. So that's allowed, but you can only do that once. So you can't be in two different teams. That's not allowed. Okay, so these are the main differences. I hope I haven't missed anything. So let's go into SEWP V. I just want to give you a very brief idea of how SEWP V, which is right now, being executed, is performing. So you know that this is a very healthy contract. So SEWP VI is obviously at the end of the line. We started with SEWP I in 1993, and each time they increased the budget from $800 million in SEWP I all the way to SEWP V, which started in May 2015 for 10 years until April 2025. The budget for that initially was $30 million. They've gone way over that. They had one set-aside competition for VOSPs, one set-aside for hub zones, and one for small business overall. So, I mean, they've changed the entire requirements completely for SEWP VI, as we're going to see. But this is essentially the process and the history. Now, let's look at the requirements for SEWP. This is essentially SEWP V. There are 212 contracts awarded under SEWP V. There are approximately, if I'm not mistaken, 147 contractors overall, because some of them got more than one contract, one award because of different categories. But over 100 of these are small businesses. So you can see that small businesses play a major role in this opportunity. 9,000 or more than OEMs are included, are taking part in it. The annual obligated value is over $10.2 billion, the latest. If you add up the various years, it comes to nearly $58.78 billion reported obligation to date. And there have been some that haven't been reported. So it's said that it's over $62 billion. Remember that the original budget was $30 billion. It's right now around $62 billion. And it can be used, it's a GWAC, so it can be used by any government agencies, and many of them, majority of them are using it. And it's obviously for ICT, information technology, and audio-visual solutions, AV. And the PMO is NASA. So the Program Management Office is NASA, but as I said, it's a GWAC, so many agencies are using it. Now, these are the different details of what the SEWP V opportunity covered. I'm not going to go into it. Information technology, networking, software and cloud, mobility and communications, supporting technology, AV conferencing, and services. Due to the time constraint, I won't go into details. It started in 1st of May 2015. It's going to finish by 30th of April 2025. So they have to award the contracts before that and then start SEWP VI on May 1st, 2025. Estimated ceiling, as I said, was $30 million. So far, $58.8 billion have been reported. Look at the task orders, 138,380, and this was by January 2023. I think this is a year old, so a lot more. So a lot of task orders, but look at the average bid submitted per task orders, 4. So because there are so many task orders under it and for so many different agencies and different types of work, there's not much competition once you get on this vehicle. So it's a good thing overall. Okay, let's look at the spending. You can see the spending starting from 2015, and these numbers are in billions of dollars. So in 2023, there was $10.5 billion or $10.6 billion spending. And you can see this is a very healthy contract vehicle, and it's been growing each year after year. Okay, now in terms of spending per agency, even though, as I said, the PMO is NASA, NASA is right in the middle with $1.11 billion. The main spender is the DoD with $12.5 billion, and then the Veterans, VA, then Navy itself, Justice Department, Treasury, Air Force, State, and all of these are in the billions of dollars. So you can see that a lot of agencies are using it. This is not a complete list. I just printed out the first 20, I think. So there are a lot more agencies, I think around 35 or 40 agencies that are using SEWP V right now. In terms of socioeconomic categories, again, you can see the small business size overall is $46.27 billion. So out of those, say 62, you see the big chunk, majority chunk is going to small businesses. Now, small disadvantage, $23.5 billion. Veteran-owned and SDV-OSVs around $19 billion. And then so on and so forth. So all of these small socioeconomic categories are getting a big chunk because these are in billions of dollars spending. Okay, so what I wanted to convey is that SEWP V, the current vehicle, is a very healthy one. Many agencies are using it, so you really should go after SEWP VI for those of you who are hesitant about it. And I know that a lot of people are actually going after this, but I just wanted to emphasize this. Now let's start with SEWP VI. So it's by NASA, multiple award GWAC, information technology, communication, and audiovisual solutions and services. That's the name. $60 billion is the current budget. The contracts are going to be around $20 billion, not to exceed. And that $60 billion will, for sure, the government will exceed that. When we look at SEWP V and how it's spending, it's gone over $60 billion. So for sure, that's going to increase as well. There was talk about having an open ceiling. Right now, it's $60 billion. They might actually have an open ceiling or increase. It's obviously for both unrestricted and small businesses. Both can participate, has different set-asides. Number of awards, there's no limit. They haven't said anything. There's no competition. You're not supposed to provide pricing in terms of, so they're not going to compare your pricing, and they're not going to compare your proposals with others. If you pass the tests that the government, the requirements that the government has, you are awarded. That's it. So that's the good thing about it. And the contract duration is 10 years. Now, some dates. Draft RFP was dropped in June 30th, 2023. The full RFP was dropped in May 23rd, a few days ago, 2024. There's a question period that you have to submit your questions before June 7th, before 5 p.m. So make sure that you actually submit your questions. The government is going to hold a webinar next week before that session. So perhaps if you want to participate in that webinar as well, you can submit your questions. They're not going to probably answer any questions there. They will answer questions afterwards. Proposal due date currently is at July 11th if they don't extend it. Award is on October 2024, and the POP start date is next year, May 1st, 2025. So essentially, if you look at the dates, draft RFP was in 2023, RFP and award is 2024, and POP starts in May 1st, 2025. So those are the dates. Now let's look at, let's see, going forward. Okay, now let's look at what SEWP VI actually covers. There are 3 categories, category A, B, and C. So first category, category A, is ITC AV solutions. And the next code is 541519E. It has 2 groups, the unrestricted and then small business set aside. And I will go into details of each of these. So I'm giving you a general idea first. Category B is enterprise-wide ITC AV service solutions with the next code of 541512, 2 groups, unrestricted and small business set aside. And then category C is ITC AV mission-based services with 541512 next, and just 1 group, small business set aside. So large businesses cannot participate in C2. Now, important thing here before we continue, those NAICS codes are just administrative. Many people are concerned that their contracts or their past performance and things like that are not in those NAICS codes. No problem. There is an exhibit called Exhibit 4, NAICS Size Standard Crosswalk. And it lists a large number of NAICS codes that if you're under any of those, you can go. It's divided into category A, B, and C. So refer to that Exhibit 4, which comes with the RFP documents. I'm not listing it here. It's a long list. And those are the NAICS codes that your past performance and your contracts must be under. And it's a long list that covers anything that covers ITC and AV. So don't be concerned about these NAICS codes that the government has put. These are for administrative because each solicitation needs to have a NAICS code. That's why they've put these NAICS codes in. Okay, now let's look at what category A covers. There are 9 areas under category A: IT computer systems, compute facilities, IT storage systems, networking technology, communication equipment, and so on and so forth. I'm not going to read. It's a long list if I do that for each category. So these are what category A covers. Now let's go to category B. It's enterprise-wide ITC AV service solutions. And here you see these are the enterprise-wide service solutions. In A, you have essentially hardware and services and solutions. Here, it's service solutions. And there are 11 areas here. And then you go into category C, which is ITC mission-based services. Again, this is services, not hardware types work. And there are 11 areas under C, category C. So that was a very basic review of what SEWP VI covers. Now let's go into the proposal requirements, which is the main topic of the webinar today. I want you to understand exactly what the requirements are, if you're eligible, if you're eligible, how you should actually prepare your proposal to win on it. So let's start with the volume structure. So there are 3 volumes under the SEWP VI submission. The first one, offer volume, has 3 sections: administrative documents, certifications, and mandatory experience. And I have highlighted that mandatory experience because I have seen many good companies and articles and proposal managers missing that. That's a major part of offer volume 1. And many people are missing that. There are a lot of requirements for that. Don't mix that up with past performance. You're supposed to provide a number of contracts under mandatory experience. If you miss that, you will be disqualified. So and I will go into details of all of this. So 3 sections there: administrative documents, certifications, and mandatory experience. Then under past performance volume, which is volume 2, you have 2 sections: the past performance descriptions for up to 3 contracts, and the PPQs that you have to provide. And then you have the 3rd volume, mission suitability, which has 2 sub-factors: technical approach and management approach. Now, in the next few slides, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into detail of each and every parts of these, each volume and each part of those volumes. So let's start with offer volume, the volume 1. So here, as I said, there are 3 parts: administrative documents, which I will not go into. It's the SF 1449, certs and reps, they're the usual. Then you have certification and you have mandatory experience. Now, in terms of certifications, there are 2 of them required. ISO 9001, which is 9001 2008 or 2015, is required for all offers. So it doesn't matter which category you're going for, you need to have that. But for CMMI level 2 or higher, that's only required for category B. It used to be required for category C, no longer. So only required for category B. It has to be services or development on level 2 or higher. Now, there is one thing good, and this is for small businesses only, and they've changed this because they hadn't said small businesses only under the draft RFP before. Now, if you're a small business and you don't have ISO 9001 or CMMI, but you can provide proof that you are in the process of getting it, that's acceptable. So if you submit that proof with your proposal, that's acceptable. But this is only for small businesses. Remember, if you're a large business, that's not acceptable. So that's the second part, certifications. Now we're going to mandatory experience, which is a major part. Don't miss this. It has a lot of requirements, and I want to go into details of that. Now, the requirements are different for each of the categories. So I have split this into the 3 categories. So let's start with category A, mandatory experience. First of all, there are 8 areas that you have to provide. 4 of these 8 areas provide 4. What do you provide? You provide 1,000 cleans at least from one provider for one of these areas, which will be your main technical area. So you need 1,000 cleans for one of these, and then 100 cleans for 3 others from a designated provider. So 1,000 cleans from one of these, say the first one, IT computer systems. So you have to get those cleans from your provider, and then 100 cleans for 3 others of those 8 that I've listed. Now, in addition to that, you need to have from another provider 50 cleans for each of those 4 areas. So the first one, which has 1,000 cleans, you also need 50 cleans from another provider. For the other 3, which you need to provide 100 cleans from a provider, you need to have another provider, which gives you at least 50 cleans. Now, you might have a 3rd or 4th provider, that's fine. But these are the minimums that I've set. And then for each of those providers, you need to have a letter of authorization, LOA, for those 4 technical areas included in your proposal submission. And remember that technical area 9, which is not listed here, which is services under category A, that does not require an LOA, and that is not part of those 1,000 cleans requirements or any of those 4 areas. So to reiterate, there are 8 areas here, from IT computer systems all the way to software and cloud technology, number 8. You have to pick 4 of these. For the first one, which is your main one, you have to provide 1,000 cleans from one of your main providers and 50 cleans from another provider. For the other 3 that you pick, you provide 100 cleans from one of your providers and then 50 cleans for the other from another provider. So that's the way they want you to submit And there are forms that you have to put it, Exhibit 3A, that you actually input these information the way they have requested it. But these are the requirements for category A. Moving forward for category B, remember we are under mandatory experience under volume 1. This is not past performance, don't mix them up. This is a mandatory experience under volume 1. Now for category B, which does not obviously cover solutions, here you need to provide contracts, or as they call them, reps. So relevant experience projects, again, don't mix it up with past performance. Past performance does not cover reps. So reps, wherever there is a mention of rep under SEWP VI, it means under mandatory experience for volume 1. Here, you need to provide, if you're a large business, 4 reps, so 4 contracts, each of them with a minimum value of $30 million. So if you're a large business going for category B, you need to provide 4 contracts that are over $30 million. If you're a small business, you need to provide 3 contracts with a minimum total value of $5 million. Now, if you're a hub zone, VOSP, STVOSP, WOSP, EDWOSP, or 8A, you only need to provide 2 contracts, and the value for those contracts is now $4 million. It used to be $5 million. It can be as low as $4 million. Now, these reps, these contracts, can have been, you could have performed them as prime, or they might be subcontracts that you have performed under another prime. That's acceptable. Also, the contracts can be federal or they can be commercial. Commercial contracts are acceptable. And usually, if this is a question, state and local contracts are considered commercial as far as government is concerned. If it's a federal contract that you're providing, remember that you can't use the IDIQs and BPAs themselves, but you can use the task orders under them or orders under BPAs. So the IDIQ itself and the BPA itself cannot be used as a contract. If you're using a subcontract, the value and the work performed as a subcontract, that's what counts. Not you can't use the value of the prime's contract. They're going to look at what your contract with the prime, what the value work for that and the scope of work for that was. Projects from subcontractors, affiliates, and predecessor companies are acceptable for small businesses only, and are not acceptable for large businesses. So if you're a small business and you can prove that you do not have the projects that they're requiring, then you can use subcontractors' projects. But if you're a large business, you cannot do that. Now, there is a time constraint. Reps must have been completed within the past 3 years from the RFP release. RFP release was 23rd of May. So you go back 3 years, and if a contract was completed within that, maybe you got it 20 years ago, it doesn't matter. Completed within the last 3 years, that's good. They haven't said anything here, but they've said it can be ongoing. They haven't said what the time constraint for ongoing is, but I'm sure that this is going to be a question. They're going to clarify it because they've said it for past performance. Ongoing means 6 months of performance. They haven't said it for the reps. We'll have to see. But if you're picking contracts right now, try to pick contracts that have 6 months of performance. So once the Q&As come out, you're not surprised. And I have put it again, don't mistake the reps in this volume with contracts in PP volume, past performance volume. These are completely separate. Okay, so these are the requirements for mandatory experience category B. Let's move into the 10 areas that you should cover. So I said that in the previous slide, I said that 4 relevant experience should cover. So those 4 relevant reps should cover 4 out of these 10 that I've listed here. These are the sub areas. Now, moving to category C, which was only for small business, you must provide a minimum of 3 projects or contracts or reps that cover the mandatory experience sub-areas, which I will list in the next slide. And then if you're a hub zone, VOSP, SD, VOSP, ED, WSP, a minimum of 2 projects is needed, not 3. And the minimum value is $2 million, not 4 or 5 like in category B. So $2 million is enough. Again, contracts can be prime or subcontracts, and they can be federal or commercial. If using a subcontract, the value of the contract must come from you, not the prime. And then reps must have been completed within the past 3 years from RFP release, May 23rd. Now, the mandatory experience sub-areas I've listed again in the next slide, so you can always refer to this. So your past performance, the reps must cover 3 out of these 10. Okay, that was volume 1. Let me stop here. Just answer, say, 1 or 2 questions and then continue on. Let's see. Gary says, specifically service disabled, veteran-owned small businesses, states that in order to participate, you will do so under NAICS code 541519. This code has a small business size standard, 34 million. Our business has revenue over 34 million annually, but does not qualify under 150 employees. Can we still be awarded under the exception under 150? We need to have this question answered to commit resources to respond to this proposal. Note any SDVOSP could easily be over 34 million size standard. Right, so you need to be under that size standard to actually be able to participate as a small business. Otherwise, you need to go for the large business size. Another question, Stefan says, we are a WOSP that sells software, hardware, and consulting service. We wish to be in the small business category. Which section should we apply for? Okay, so actually, category A, category B, and category C are completely different. So these are 3 different solicitations. I've put them together here so you can actually see them, but they're considered 3 different solicitations. So for a company such as yours, you might go after all 3 of them. So you need to provide 3 separate proposals. 3 separate proposals going after category A, B, and C. That's quite fine. There's no problem with that. Brian, let's see, another question. For the technical approach, is it okay to include the capabilities of our team, total team, first-tier subs, if we as Prime don't do all of the technical areas? Yes, but remember, you're not supposed to provide all the technical areas, Brianna. Only if you're small business 3, if you're large 4. And I shouldn't say large because you're saying that you have a team. So because large businesses cannot use a team to use their past performance. So I'm assuming you're small business. Small businesses only need to provide 3 of those technical areas. Now, considering that, then you have to see if you need to bring in primes and how many of them or not. Let me answer one other question, and I will continue on. Does the small business have to be a certified company? If not, are the qualifiers still the NAICS code? Yes, so the small business, once you actually you're automatically registered as small or large based on your income and so forth under SAM. So the government is going to look under SAM and find out if you're small or large. That's the criteria that they're going to look for. And based on that, you can look up yourself and then decide whether you want to actually submit under small business or large business. One other question, which is quite long. Kathy, can you talk about the number of reps required? For example, the language in RFP for category C for hub zones, blah, blah, blah. A total of 2 different reps from different mandatory experience technical areas shall be submitted. Each project must have a minimum of, and you've written everything. Okay, this implies up to 20 reps. Okay, that used to be a lot of questions over that. So am I supposed to provide, for example, if I'm one of those special socioeconomic 20 reps, or if not, 30 reps, and for large businesses, 40 reps. No, that's not the case. Large businesses, just 4 reps. 4 reps, small businesses, 3, and special socioeconomic 2. Those 2 should cover 2 of those areas. The 3 for small businesses should cover 3 areas, and large businesses should cover 4. So, for example, large businesses under, say, category B, there are, if I'm not mistaken, 11 areas, or 8, just don't remember right now, just need to cover 4 of those. So 4 reps to cover 4 of those areas, 3 reps for 3 areas, and for socioeconomics, 2 reps for 2 areas. That's it. Not 20, 30, and 40 reps. That's a nightmare. Okay. Having said that, let's start let's go on with the past performance volume. So these are the requirements for past performance volume as a whole, and then there are specific requirements for each category, and we'll go into these. So you provide up to 3 past performance, 1 up to 3. Contract must have been completed or ongoing within the past 3 years, again, from the RFP release date. For ongoing ones, they must have at least 6 months of performance. Remember, these 3 contracts that you provide here as past performance have nothing to do with the reps that you provided in volume 1. There might be similarities, for example, past 3 years, but they don't have to be the same contracts. Small businesses only can use a subcontractor's past performance, but maximum 1 per subcontractor. So if you have 1 subcontractor and you want to provide 3 past performances, 2 of them must come from you. You can only bring 1 past performance per subcontractor. Contracts can be federal or commercial, and this is something strange, but they have put it in. Obviously, you can use task orders or orders under BPAs, but if you have a single award IDIQ or a single award BPAs, that's by itself is acceptable. So you don't have to have an order under it. A single award IDIQ or a single award BPA is acceptable as a contract, and you can provide past performance for that. But for multiple award ones, multiple award IDIQs and BPAs, you need to provide task orders under them or orders under them. So these are the general requirements. Now let's dive into the requirements as far as category A are concerned. So for small businesses, you have to get moderate relevance to pass this stage. So how do you get moderate relevance? Moderate relevance is when a similar scope contract has an annual value of at least $150K. So different numbers, $150K here, not $30 million or $5 million, $150K. But I have highlighted annual value. So if it's a contract that you had for $5 million for 5 years, the annual value for that is $1 million. So remember that when you're calculating, annual value is important. So for small businesses, it's $150K. For large businesses, it's $2.5 million annual value. So that $5 million contract I mentioned for 5 years is not, you're not going to get a moderate relevance on this, on this, the scope on this, because this is above 2.5 million, and that contract, $5 million for 5 years, the annual value for that is 1 million. So remember to do your math correctly. Now, if you're a small business past performance, if there's no distinction here, I should mention for those socioeconomic type, STV, OSB, or those types, the same thing applies as small business, total of small business. Now, for small business past performance, you need to cover 3, and for large businesses, you need to cover 4 of these areas that I have listed, 8 of these areas. So these 8 areas, you need to provide 3 contracts that cover, if you're a small business, 3 of them, if you're a large business, 4 of them. You might ask, hey, for large business, 4 areas, but the maximum is 3 contracts. That's correct. So the maximum past performance contracts that you can provide is 3 overall, not 3 times each of these areas, 3 overall. But you need to cover 4 areas. So one of those contracts must cover 2 areas. Remember that. That's for large business. For small businesses, you don't have the problem. So each of those areas can be covered by one of these past performances that you provide. So that's category A requirement. Remember the number, 150K, that's the value. And then the relevance comes from, covering these 3 or 4 of these 8 areas. For category B, so value relevance comes from annual value of $1 million for small business and $2.5 million for large business. Again, annual value. Now, for small business past performance, you need to provide 3 past performances covering the areas listed. For large businesses, you need to cover 4. Now, if you're hub zone, STV, OSP, ED, OSP, etc., you need to cover only 2 areas. So you might actually provide 2 contracts. That's fine, because minimum is 1, maximum is 3. If you can cover each of these areas, each of those 2 areas with one of the contracts, so the maximum that you can provide is 2. That's fine. If you're one of those specialized socioeconomic companies. But essentially for small business, 3 contracts, and large 3 areas, and large businesses 4 areas. And those are the areas I've listed, 10 of them. You pick 3 or 4 of them and provide past performance for them. But the past performance, remember, must have that annual value of 1 million for small business and 2.5 for large business. And remember, I gave also that requirement that it has to have been completed within the past 3 years or ongoing with a 6-month performance. Okay, so that's the requirement for category B. Let's go to category C now. Category C is only for small business. So the annual value is 500K. Now, if you're a total small business and don't fall into one of these specialized categories like hub zone, STV, OSPs, etc., you need to cover 3 areas. For these specialized categories, you need to cover 2 areas. So, and the areas I've listed here, you can always refer back to them. Of course, these are all also in the RFP as well. But remember, the annual value must be 500K. And there are ways of calculating it for those contracts that are ongoing. How do you calculate it? I'm not going to go into details of those. If you have any questions, just jump on a call and I'll explain it to you, or through email. Now, that's the first part of past performance, and you have a 10-page limit for that, providing those experience projects, past performance projects. Then also you have to provide questionnaires to the contracting officers, and those questionnaires must be filled and sent back to the contracting office before the proposal due date. So please start selecting the contracts first, proper contracts, make sure that they are the proper contracts, because you need to get the PPQs done also, and those PPQs will be out of your hand and they'll be sent to your contracting officer. So give them a heads up and start sending them the PPQ forms, which come with the RFP document. Don't use standard PPQs. There's specialized PPQ forms that come with the RFP document, so use that. Okay. Let's now move into the third volume, which is mission suitability, or the technical and management approach. Remember, there were 2 areas: sub-factor A, technical approach, and sub-factor B, management approach. Essentially, each of these sub-factors have a 15-page limit. And I will not go into details. This is essentially technical writing that you have to write towards. Under sub-factor A, this is a summary description that addresses each of the, you should address each of the SOW scope category descriptions. So if you're going for category A, you should discuss that. If you're going for B or C, you should refer to SOW, try to discuss that. And then 3 specific areas that they want to see in your discussion: scalability and extensibility of your capabilities, to show your ability to deliver the fullest range of ITC AV solutions and services to the government. Then they want to see the features that you're going to provide. And then also they're going to see the architectural features that you're proposing to provide to the government. So these are the essentially the material that you should discuss in addition to the SOW scope in your technical approach 15-page proposal writing. Now, the second part is subfactor B, management approach. This has a 15-page limit. It's divided into 4 areas. Commitment to supply chain management. This is very important to the government. So I would expect this to have more weight compared to the other parts. So try to, write very skillfully under this: commitment to supply chain management, commitment to sustainability, commitment to product and service diversity, and then program management. Obviously, program management is important to the government also. And these are explained in more detail in the RFP. I'm not going to go into details. You have a 15-page limit to cover all of them. And the government has spelled out, for example, under sustainability, what they're looking for, or under program management, and specifically under supply chain management. So adhere to their RFP requirements and try to write towards those requirements. And I think if you have good writing skills, do multiple reviews, you should be safe there. Okay, let's discuss the selection process as well. We are, as usual in my webinars, we're running short of time for your questions. So selection process, essentially what they're going to do, first phase, they're going to obviously look at your administrative documents, make sure that they're there. They're going to make sure that the ISO 9001 and CMMI level 2 or higher for category B are there. And then they're going to look for that mandatory relevant experience projects that we discussed, the reps, with the $30 million for large business and $5 million for small business requirements and other requirements that I mentioned. And this is a go, no go, or pass, fail. So, I mean, either you pass or you fail. They're not going to, score you here. So you don't want to make any mistakes. And that's why I mentioned that that mandatory experience, relevant experience. Many people are missing that. If you fail on that, they're not going to look at the rest of your proposal. Make sure that you're good there. Second step is they want to make sure that you have a moderate, neutral, well, it is there, but it's more or less a joke, I would say. Moderate, high, or very high level of confidence. You want to be at that moderate level. So you want to get a moderate level of confidence for past performance rating. And I'll explain how you get that in a minute. So you want to get a moderate level, because it doesn't matter if you have a moderate or high. As long as you are moderate or above, you pass that step as well. So you want to be there at the moderate level. Once you pass that, and I'm going to explain how you pass that in a minute in the next slide. But then you go to the third step. Here they're going, your writing skill is important, because here they're going to review your mission suitability volume, and they only pass those who get high confidence. So you want to get high confidence here under mission suitability. You have to have high confidence under both sub-factors, both the management approach and the technical approach, not just one, both of them. High confidence there. So you need to have very good writing skills, and you really need to shine and polish there to make sure that you get high confidence. Once you're past that, they just do the usual responsibility requirement checks and reviews, source selection, and you're done. They're not going to compare you with others, so far at least. That's what they've said, unless they change that with an amendment. This is the final RFP. They're not going to compare you with others. They're not going to compare your prices, with other companies, things like that. If you're going for category A, your prices essentially need to be just, reasonable. They might be high, but if they're reasonable and you provide justification for them, that's good. So there's no comparison with other companies. If you get past step 4, you're awarded the contract vehicle. Now, I mentioned that in item 2, you need to get a moderate or higher level, a level of confidence for past performance. So Before going into that, I've put that here in a better language. So first, you need to have an ISO 9001. If you're going for category B, you need to have CMMI level 2. You need to get a pass for mandatory relevant experience. You need to get a moderate or above for past performance. And you need to get high confidence for both technical approach and management approach. So this is how you can actually get awarded. If you can get these, you're good to go. Now, I mentioned that moderate. I want to cover that moderate rating for past performance. So to get a moderate rating for past performance, there are two factors. One is called the size requirement, and one is the relevance requirement. So for the contracts that you provide for past performance, there's a size requirement, and it's annual value. Again, pounding on that, not the total value, annual value. If you're a large business, for both category A and B, it's $2.5 million. If you're small business, category A, 150K, category B, 1 million, category C, 500K. If you're above these in those three past performances that you provide, obviously towards the size requirement, you're good to go for that requirement, for size requirement. Now, for relevance requirement, if you're a large business, for category A and B, you need to showcase at least 4 representative areas. And I listed those for you. 4 of the 10, I think 10 or 8 representative areas you need to cover. If you're a small business, you need to cover, that those past performance contracts that you provide need to cover. For small businesses, category A, B, and C, you need to cover 3 representative areas. And if you're a hub zone, STV, OSV, EDV, WSB, or 8A, you need to cover 2 representative areas for relevance. So if you have these, you get moderate rating and you pass that. So that's the good thing about it. So that's the selection process. A few notes on win strategy. We are behind as usual. So in content, essentially either you have it or not. You either have ISO 9001 or CMMI, or you don't have it. Now, if you're a small business, there's a loophole here. They've allowed you to actually provide, submit proof that you have applied for it. But if you're a large business, either you have it or you don't. If you don't have it, don't go for SEWP VI. You cannot win. They're going to put you aside right in step 1. You can use subcontractors for their experience or past performance in areas that you lack. This is only for small businesses. For category A, start reaching out to your providers. This is a large, long haul item. Getting those LOAs from them, getting the CLINs from them, even though the CLIN structure is now easier, 1,000 CLINs only for the first one, 100 CLINs for the others. But you need to reach out to them immediately if you have not done so already. Many have already done that. For category B, you need at least 4 projects over $30 million for large businesses, or 3 over $5 million for small businesses, and for those special socioeconomic ones, 2 over $4 million. Category C, you need at least 3 projects over $2 million, 2 for specific set-asides to showcase your experience. If you're a large business, you need 2 to 3 projects for past performance over $2.5 million annual value for large business, and 1 million to 500K for small business to get a moderate rating. And volume 3 mission capability is where your writing skill might be needed to showcase your capability. Start preparing for that volume now. If you have good proposal writing skills, try to get a review done by somebody else within your organization or by an outside source, obviously us, or somebody else. But really, seriously, make sure that you do reviews on that to make sure that it's compliant. If you have not done this before, make sure that you use an outside source that is competent to write those 215 pages to make sure that you get the rating that allows you to pass that stage. Now, in form, you don't want to face the situation that you have all the reps, you have all the past performance, your technical writing is good, but you've not adhered to the requirements of the format and compliance, and you get put aside. So compliance review is really important, utmost importance. Pay attention in details, in form and format, as well as obviously in content. So make sure that you do multiple compliance reviews. And then for those of you who have not decided, obviously you do need to do a go, no go. This is a large, assignment and takeover. It's going to take a lot of energy, time, and resources from you and money. So make sure that you do a go, no go right at the beginning. If you don't have those requirements, just don't go for it. You can jump on a call with us. We can do an eligibility assessment for you, or you can do it yourself. But make sure that you do that go, no go right at the beginning before you jumping into it and putting a lot of time and energy, money, resources, and then finding out that you don't have the requirements. And then again, volume 3 depends on your writing skills. Make sure that you do have the proper, people to actually do that for you. Okay, we've reached the Q&A session, and we have only a few minutes left. So let me start reading some of the questions. I'm sorry, I've been slow in reaching this point. So Sally says, how can we determine exactly which NAICS codes we should apply under? Very good. So as I mentioned, there is an Exhibit 4 NAICS size standard crosswalk. That's the main part that you should go after as far as NAICS code is concerned. So decision about category A, B, and C should not be related to NAICS code. Those NAICS codes that I listed for each category. Decision to go after which category is dependent under the scopes of those categories, those sub areas that I've listed for you. A has 10, I think, or 11, and the others 8 or 9, each of them. Look at those and see if what you do, what you want to get task orders under, lie under those categories, then go for that. Don't look at the NAICS code. Now, where does that NAICS code come into play? When you're picking the past performances, picking the reps to provide for your proposal, the reps and NAICS code, the NAICS code for the reps, the NAICS code for the past performances must be one of the ones listed under Exhibit 4 NAICS size standard crosswalk. And if you open that, that's an Excel sheet. It lists all the NAICS codes that are acceptable under category A, which is, I don't know, 50, 60 NAICS codes. All the NAICS codes acceptable under B and all the NAICS code under C. So that's how you should actually decide what to go after. Hilda, is our JV, if our JV is bidding on category B, but the JV does have CMMI, but the managing has CMMI, is that okay? Right, so CMMI can be in the name of the JV or in the name of one of the actually members. If it is in either case, it's acceptable. So if your managing member has the CMMI, it's acceptable. Good to go. Stefan, how does a small business provide proof of in process of CMMI? Okay, so when you submit your request to the CMMI certificate authority and they start their process, they can issue a letter to you saying that your CMMI system is under review, and then you can submit that to the government. I'm sure this is one of the questions that will be submitted to the government as well. So we'll see what the answer is, but I've seen this in other RFPs, and I think that you can use it that way. Okay, Tom says, I'm not familiar with some of the acronyms, CLAN, and some of the initial slides. Can you please clarify? Tom, if you download the presentation slide, mine and my colleagues Maron email and phone number are there. Please email us, set up a call. We can jump on a call. As I said, we have free consultation. I can answer any questions you have and clarify a lot of things for you. Robert says, do you mean cleanse from prior contracts? No. Cleanse means items. I'm sorry if I was not very clear on that. For category A, when they mention cleanse, it means items that you want to sell to the government. So these items are the ones that you get from your provider for OEM. Say, for example, Dell, hard disk, model, blah, blah, blah. That's an item. It has a price. It has a different specifications. That's a CLIN by itself. So you have to get 1,000 of these from one provider for your main category, and then 100 for the other three, plus for the all four of them, 50 CLINs from a second provider on each of those categories. But when I say CLIN, here it means one of those items that you're going to sell to the government. This is going to become a CLIN in your contract towards the government. That's why they're using this acronym. I don't know why, and I apologize. I should have mentioned it when I was explaining it. Okay, more Nancy. I think I hope I've answered that question for you as well, because same thing. Okay, is Nancy? One other question you had is 1,000 CLINs being that it should be billable line items. Exactly. So once each of these should have a price, it should have specifications, name, and other things that they have mentioned. If you go to Form Exhibit 3A, Category A Solution Spreadsheet, you can see what you're supposed to provide for each of those line items, which is 1,000. They call it CLINs. So yes, price is included there as well. Let's see, so many questions. I'm sorry, I'm way behind. So reps are only relevant to Category B. Yes, reps are not relevant, Kevin, are not relevant to Category A. Reps are only relevant to Category B and C. So reps, when we discuss reps, are not relevant to Category A. For Category A, we had that discussion about 1,000 CLINs and that sort of thing. For Category B, you're supposed to provide reps, and for Category C, you're supposed to provide reps. I hope I answered your 2 questions, Kevin. Nancy, is the minimum total value the consolidated value? So there's a large discussion on that, what the minimum total value is. So maybe you have a contract that is ongoing. What's the total minimum value? It means what the government has so far paid to you. So maybe the contract was $20 million, but the government has paid you only $3 million. And the contract was for 5 years, so 20 times 5 for 5 years. But you've gone only 1 year and you've been paid, say, $2 million. That's the value that you're supposed to provide, $2 million, not $20 million. I'm going to answer some more questions. I know that I've gone overboard for over 1 hour, but I will continue. I hope some people will stay. And also, if you have to jump off for another call or another work item, whatever, you will get the recording, so you can always refer to this. Sally, for the minimum of reps, is that total over 1 year or over multiple years? I think I explained it. So it's whatever has been paid to you. That's so for the reps, which is not annual value. When they say total value, they've said that, say, it's $20 million, but you've only been paid $2 million. That contract is considered a $2 million contract. Jill, for a single rep, what if it covers multiple mandatory sub areas? That's fine. As they want to see that you cover multiple areas, but remember that you have to cover at least 4 areas if you're a large business, or 3 areas if you're a small business. So you have to provide those reps to cover. It's better to find reps that cover 1 area, so you can actually, cover that. But unless they say so in the Q&A, I think you're allowed to use the same rep. I think there was a Q&A originally saying that you're not allowed to do that. Use the same rep for 2 different mandatory sub areas. But I didn't see that in the RFP. Maybe I missed it. So this is one of the questions we have actually put to the government. We'll have to see. But if you can actually provide separate reps for different mandatory areas, it would be better. Indirana, can we use subcontractors, team members, rep for category C? Yes, you can. So because it's a small business, you have to show that you do not have that, you do not cover it, and then you can, you can use a team member rep for that. So small businesses can use team member reps, but large businesses cannot. Lavanya, NAICS code that requires to use of Ability One as subcontractors. Can you elaborate on this requirement? Right, so Ability One are contractors. There are some Ability One contractors, meaning that it's geared towards blind or disabled people, and there are companies who have that capability. Now, when you go to that Exhibit 4, some of them have an asterisk saying that if you're going to use that, you have to subcontract to Ability One subcontractors. If you are using subcontractors, it should be Ability One. You don't have to use subcontractors. But if you're using subcontractors for those specific NAICS codes, you should be using Ability Ones. That's the requirement. Lexley, can we use the NAICS in the crosswalk to bid as a small if you're a large business under 541519, but can we provide PP under 517110 where we are a small business? So far as I understand it, yes, you can. But I know that a lot of companies have actually put that as a question to the government to actually clarify it, because the RFP language is a little bit ambiguous. So I suggest that you actually submit that as a question as well. But my understanding is that you can. Chris, my company missed the May 24th, 2024 full RFP deadline. Can I submit an RFP for subcontracting opportunity? Okay, the RFP came out on May 23rd, and you haven't missed anything. The deadline is July 11th, so you have a lot of time to prepare your proposal. You can, of course, go for subcontracting opportunities too, but you have not missed the deadline. It actually came out during those days that you mentioned in May 23rd, and the due date is July 11th. So go for it. Stefan says, I'm confused about reps versus past performance. Excellent. I wanted this. I want this to be understood by everyone, because you will make mistakes, and that's disaster. Reps are used in volume 1. I'm not going to go through the entire requirements for them, but they're used in volume 1. They have nothing to do with the contracts that you use for past performance, which is used in volume 2, past performance. So volume 1, you use reps. You use 3 or 4 contracts there. They have to be over $30 million if you're large, or $5 million if you're small, and other requirements that I mentioned. That's for volume 1, and you get a pass or fail there. That's it. But in volume 2, you need to provide past performance, 3 past performances. They have different requirements. For example, the annual value must be a specific number, 2.5 million for large businesses, 1 million for small businesses under category B, or 500K under category C. And then you have to write towards them. And they can be completely different contracts from what you provide in volume 1 reps. So this is important to understand. And most people are seeing those past performance contracts, but they're missing those reps. Don't miss the reps. If you make a mistake there, you get a fail in step 1, and the rest of your proposal will not be reviewed by the government. So make sure that you don't make a mistake there. Good question. Brianna, the technical approach isn't supposed to address all of the 11 scope areas in category C, only the 2 or 3 scope areas you called out in your reps. Exactly. So not 11 areas, just 2 or 3 scope areas. Dan, did I hear correctly that a small business has to document 3 contracts with a total value of $3 million? Are there any exceptions? Not $3 million. Let's discuss. First, go to volume 1 reps. For volume 1 reps, 3 reps, for small business I'm talking, 3 reps, each of them $5 million total value. Then we go to volume 2, past performance. Past performance, category B, 3 contracts, annual value of $1 million. Or if you're going for category C, 2 contracts, annual value of $500K. So those are the numbers. Michelle, can we have an example of management approach? Excuse me. Management approach. Michelle, if you want, put your email. I'll send you some more information about management approach, what they're looking for. Or you can actually contact us and we can jump on a call and discuss in more detail what management approach should cover, because it will take time. So either way, either by email or call, I'm ready to actually answer your question. Ryan, I hope I answered your CLIN question, and I apologize again to everyone if you did not understand what a CLIN is. Michelle as well. Jill, what's the point of requiring both reps in volume 1 and PPs in volume 2? Good question. I don't know. They're actually covering different things. One, the requirements are different. Maybe they should have put it in volume 1, the total value is important to them. And they're looking for your experience. They don't want any write-ups. So you actually fill up a form that they've given, and for each of those contracts for reps. I think it's attachment, attachment D, I think, contract data requirement. But in past performance, you have to write towards your actual past performance. And they're actually, so, essentially you can say volume 1 is experience, volume 2 is past performance, how well you actually performed, because you have to also submit PPQs for them. But you could have said, hey, why shouldn't we actually use the same 3 for both volumes? Well, they're making it easier. So you can provide different contracts for reps and different contracts for PPs. That's all I can say. Kevin, for the 3 areas required for past performance, do they have to be the same 3 areas as the CLINs provided? No. So they haven't said anything about the CLINs. Understanding the meaning of CLIN are those items that you're supposed to provide. The past performances must tie in with the NAICS codes under, for example, category A. I'm supposing since you're mentioning CLIN, you're mentioning category A. So look under Exhibit 4. There are, I think, 60 different NAICS codes. The past performances should be under one of those NAICS codes. That's fine. The CLINs don't have to correspond directly to those past performances. Obviously, it would be better, but there is no requirement as far as the RFP is concerned. Okay, Shainan, each past performance needs to cover 3 or 4 areas, or 1 PP can cover 2 areas, and PP2 can cover another 2, etc. Yes, for past performance, since you have 4, for example, for large businesses, you're supposed to provide 4 areas, but the maximum contracts you can provide are 3. So one of those contracts can actually cover 2. That's fine. That's acceptable. Marissa, will submitting for more than 4 technical areas in category A give a higher confidence rating? No. So don't try to go over what they've said. You don't want to make them angry, so they put you aside. Just do as they say. So 4 areas, give 4 areas. And they've said specifically that that's not going to give you any more, points. So Nancy, if you have a GSA schedule, does it cover any of this data required for reps? So that's a good question. GSAs are not considered, contracts. I've seen GSA itself not accepting the schedule itself as a rep. They've said that you have to, get a contract under GSA, under your GSA schedule to count as a contract. So I'm assuming that here again for reps, you cannot use the GSA schedule itself, but if you actually were awarded the contract under that GSA schedule, you can use that. I think we've reached the limit. I've gone past, and I see that there are at least, oh, mamma mia, at least 30 questions left. So I will try to answer all these questions by email. I apologize again. I probably should have said that 1 hour webinar, half an hour question answer, that would be probably better. My apologies. So I'll answer all the questions that I have not answered by email. Please contact myself by email. You can see my email right now on the screen. Or if you download the presentation slide, my contact detail is there, and Moron, my colleague. So we can actually jump on a call and discuss. And if you cannot, at least one person has said he cannot download the presentation slide. If you cannot download the presentation slide, just type in your email right on this chat system and say you want the presentation slide. I will send you the presentation slide. So if you cannot download it, just write your name, email, and I will email you the presentation slide. Thank you so much, and apologies again for going overboard over time. I hope to see you in our future webinars. I wish you success on this SEWP VI, and go for it. Thank you so much. Have a great day.